Not a bit. Mrs. Lessways went to bed in the placid expectancy of a very similar day on the morrow, and of an interminable succession of such days, the which was incomprehensible and offensive to Hilda. She was in a prison with her mother, and saw no method of escape, saw not so much as a locked door, saw nothing but blank walls. Even could she by a miracle break prison, where should she look for the unknown object of her desire? And for what should she look? Enigmas. It is true that she read, occasionally with feverish enjoyment, especially verse. But she did not and could not read enough. Of the shelf full of books which in 30 years had drifted by one accident or another into the Lessways household, she had read every volume except Cruden's Concordance, a heterogeneous and forlorn assemblage, Lavater's Physiognomy, in a translation and in full calf, Thomson's Seasons, which had thrilled her by its romantic beauty, Mrs. Henry Wood's Danesbury House, and 1 or 2 novels by Charlotte M. Yonge and Dinah Maria Craig, which she had gulped eagerly down for the mere interest of their stories. Disraeli's Ixion, which she had admired without understanding it. A History of the North American Indians. These were the more exciting items of the set. The most exciting of all was a green volume of Tennyson's containing Maud. She knew Maud by heart. By simple unpleasant obstinacy, she had forced her mother to give her this volume for a birthday present, having seen a quotation from it in a lady's magazine. At that date in Turnhill, as in many other towns of England, the poem had not yet lived down a reputation for immorality. But fortunately, Mrs. Lessways had only the vaguest notion of its dangerousness, and was indeed a negligent kind of woman. Dangerous the book was. Once, in reciting it aloud in her room, Hilda had come so near to fainting that she had had to stop and lie down on the bed, until she could convince herself that she was not the male lover crying to his beloved. An astounding and fearful experience, and not to be too lightly renewed. For Hilda, Maud was a source of lovely and exquisite pain. Why had she not used her force of character to obtain more books? One reason lay in the excessive difficulty to be faced. Birthdays are infrequent, and besides, the enterprise of purchasing Maud had proved so complicated and tedious that Mrs. Lessways, with that curious stiffness which marked her sometimes, had sworn never to attempt to buy another book. Turnhill, a town of 15,000 persons, had no bookseller. The only bookseller that Mrs. Lessways had ever heard of did business at Oldcastle. Mrs. Lessways had journeyed twice over the Hillport Ridge to Oldcastle, in the odd quest of a book called Maud by Tennyson the Poet Laureate. The book had had to be sent from London, and on her second excursion to Oldcastle, Mrs. Lessways had been caught by the rain in the middle of Hillport Marsh. No, Hilda could not easily demand the gift of another book, when all sorts of nice, really useful presents could be bought in the High Street. Nor was there in Turnhill a municipal library, nor any public lending library. Yet possibly Hilda's terrific egoism might have got fresh books somehow from somewhere, had she really believed in the virtue of books. Thus far, however, books had not furnished her with what she wanted, and her faith in their promise was insecure. Books failing, might she not have escaped into some vocation? The sole vocation conceivable for her was that of teaching, and she knew, without having tried it, that she abhorred teaching. Further, there was no economical reason why she should work. In 1878, unless pushed by necessity, no girl might dream of a vocation. The idea was monstrous. It was almost unmentionable. Still further, she had no wish to work for work's sake. Marriage remained. But she felt herself a child, ages short of marriage. And she never met a man. It was literally a fact that, except Mr. Skelhorn, a few tradesmen, the vicar, the curate, and a sidesman or so, she never even spoke to a man from one month's end to the next. The church choir had its annual dance, to which she was invited, but the perverse creature cared not for dancing. Her mother did not seek society, did not appear to require it. Nor did Hilda acutely feel the lack of it. She could not define her need. All she knew was that youth, moment by moment, was dropping down inexorably behind her. And, still a child in heart and soul, she saw herself aging, and then aged, and then withered. Her 21st birthday was well above the horizon. Soon, soon.